Good evening. You're watching Ukraine Brief on TVP World. It has been 1,392 days since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. I'm Marie Caso, and here's the latest. Following yesterday's meeting in Berlin, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said Ukraine will not recognize the Donbass as Russian. Zelenskyy also said that he's counting on 5 documents of the American-drafted peace plan, some of which will provide security guarantees for Kyiv. The Ukrainian official also addressed the reparations loan proposed by the European Union. According to Zelenskyy, should the war continue, the loan will be used to support the army and the financial needs of Ukraine's defense sector. If a peace deal is reached beforehand, the funds from the loan will go towards the country's recovery. Additionally, they will be used to achieve post-war macro-financial stability. In the Dutch parliament on Tuesday, President Zelenskyy called for Russia to be held accountable for its war crimes. He says that Ukraine is now in the midst of the most intense and focused negotiations to achieve peace since the beginning of the war.
And when the guns stay silent, when the drones stop killing, the law must still speak. Russian root causes should be returned to Russia, and it cannot be that war criminals travel freely across Europe or the world as if they were tourists. It cannot be that those who killed are suddenly treated as respectable partners. That is why sanctions matter, and that is why conventions and mechanisms of international justice exist and must work. Alongside diplomacy, defense support for Ukraine, support for our resilience, I ask you, please continue supporting efforts to ensure legal accountability for the aggressor. So no matter how difficult it may be, and no matter how long it takes Russian war criminals must be held accountable. And the Russian state must be held responsible for the crime of aggression.
Today, Europe launched an international claims commission to ensure Ukraine is compensated for billions in damages from the Russian invasion and alleged war crimes. At a high-level diplomatic conference in The Hague, Ukraine and 34 other countries signed a convention establishing an international compensation commission to assess damages caused by Russia's invasion. Ukrainian officials said the commission will operate as an independent institution within the Council of Europe, reviewing claims for losses to individuals, organizations and public bodies. It will process claims submitted through Ukraine's Register of Damage, which already accepts applications via the country's e-governance app DIA. Kyiv insists that Russia, as the aggressor state, must pay for the destruction, with frozen Russian assets considered a key source for future compensation. Experts warn that reparations could take years, but the commission marks a significant step towards holding Russia accountable and supporting Ukraine's reconstruction. Zelenskyy also met with Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof and King Willem Alexander. He thanked the Netherlands for its steadfast political and military support, including a recent €700 million defence package. Speaking in The Hague during a joint press conference with the Dutch Prime Minister, Zelenskyy said Ukraine faces serious financial pressure and that frozen Russian assets are crucial, not only for rebuilding the country, but also for setting a clear global precedent. Aggression must carry consequences. Following yesterday's Ukrainian strike on a Russian submarine in the port of Novorossiysk, Russia has launched another drone attack tonight, hitting a residential building in Zaporizhzhia. Early Tuesday morning, Russian forces struck a 9-story residential building in Zaporizhzhia with a kamikaze drone. At least 4 people were wounded, including 1 man in critical condition. Emergency services rescued residents while extinguishing active fires in several apartments. Witnesses say the blaze spread rapidly through the building, forcing people to flee with whatever they could grab, including documentation. In Odesa, in a separate attack on Tuesday morning, a Russian drone struck a warehouse. According to regional authorities, no one was injured. In the Kherson region, intensive Russian shelling of the Dnipro River's right bank has killed 1 person and wounded another. Last night, Russia launched 69 kamikaze drones, with the Ukrainian air defenses shooting down 57 of them. And we end with Russian oil prices, which have hit their lowest level since Russia invaded Ukraine. As Western sanctions and restrictions continue to affect major Russian oil companies like Rosneft and Lukoil, Russia's oil industry has been forced to resort to offering discounts. Ukrainian strikes on oil refineries and recent attacks on vessels linked to the Russian shadow fleet has only served to push crude prices to their lowest levels since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. According to Argus Media, Russian exporters are now receiving just over $40 a barrel on average for cargoes shipped from the Baltic, Black Sea, and the eastern port of Kozmino, down to 28% over the past 3 months. Major buyers like India and China have continued to purchase Russian crude, but at steep discounts. And that concludes Ukraine Brief for today. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for much more on TVP World and tvpworld.com. Goodbye.